Between my last video and now, I've washed my hair. So it's wet. Big deal. Don't come for me. Hold on, I want to drink a wine. This is going to be super, super quick. Something apparently I neglected to do in my last video because I've gotten several phone calls and countless texts and private messages about this. I guess I was so shocked by the statement that I was dealing with in my last video that my eyes kind of brushed over the impact of what I'm going to address now. It was said on the LNC list, again, not mentioning names, you can go look if you want, that the JC has combined the quote unquote 2 Massachusetts appeals into one. I want to get the exact wording because I don't want to misstate here. 1 second. Okay. The statement was 2 Massachusetts appealed combined into one hearing, and the LNC first told it wasn't an interested party, then a reverse course made, in which amendment was made, not confirmed to have all signatories in agreement. Wow, there is so much there that is wrong. You know that statement, something's so wrong, it's not even right? Okay, let's deal with the first thing. There are not 2 Delaware appeals to be combined into one. There's just one appeal that's been filed. There's a second one that's ready to be filed that perhaps that LNC member has seen, and we have enough signatures on it already to file it. And if you'd like to sign that second appeal in anticipation of us needing it, please email me at KarenAnnHarlos@gmail.com, and I would love to have your signature on it. So you too can get abused by an LNC member saying it's your fault for exercising your rights under the bylaws. Don't you want to join that exclusive club? The only solace you have is that you can't be expelled, unlike the Massachusetts people. Though I'm certain if we could have been, we would have been. Anyway, there are not 2 Massachusetts appeals pending at this time. There is only one. There is the promise of a second one, which I'm sure everyone has seen, including the Judicial Committee. And I would send them a complimentary copy of the second one that would be filed if they asked me for it. So already, misstatement number 1. Misstatement number 2 is that they've been combined into one hearing. Well, you can't combine something that doesn't exist into one hearing. There was a hearing on the appeal that's been filed. So, misstatement number 2. I've never seen so many misstatements in one short sentence. Misstatement number 3. The LNC was first told it wasn't an interested party. That is not true. Alicia Matson corrected this LNC member on this. Alicia Matson corrected him on this on social media. If you know Alicia, she never comments on social media. Now, perhaps this LNC member does not agree with Ms. Matson's comments to him. But something you guys will notice I always do on my videos, and the best debaters do, is when you know there is an opposing argument to your position, you always let your readers know what the opposing argument is, and then you counter it. But this LNC member is pretending like this argument hasn't been rebutted. He's just simply restating the original argument as if it hasn't been rebutted. That is not only bad debate form, it is intentionally misleading. The LNC was not told it wasn't an interested party. Anyone with half a brain reading the appeal knows they were an interested party when we were appealing their ruling. This is so silly that it's almost like Poe's Law. It's almost like a parody, like you're in the Twilight Zone. But in any event, the hearing date was moved to shut that argument up, even though the LNC was told right at the beginning that they were an interested party. In the abundance of caution, the hearing date was moved to give them ample time to respond. So, misrepresentation number 3. It says, then a reverse course was made. I'll combine that into misrepresentation number 3, even though I could count it as a separate one, in which an amendment was made. No, it was filed as an amendment, and it was made clear it was a clarification that the LNC obviously is an interested party. And an inquiry was made of the Judicial Committee in which all parties, including Whitney Bilyeu, it's not my fault if this LNC member was not notified of this, because Whitney seems not to be telling the LNC everything that's going on. But an inquiry was made to the Judicial Committee if all of the member signatories needed to sign off on agreement that the LNC was an interested party, even though obviously they were an interested party. And we were told, no, they do not. It is obvious they are an interested party, and pursuant to the Judicial Committee Rules of Appellate Procedure, the Judicial Committee is authorized, because it doesn't expect all petitioners to be lawyers, that the Judicial Committee is authorized to say, no, these other parties are interested parties. So misrepresentation number 4, and utter ignorance of the Judicial Committee Rules of Appellate Procedures as well. Just throw that in as a cherry on top. So all signatories to be in agreement, it was obvious the LNC was an interested party. This is as bad as the government does, where it tries to deny you a permit because it says you didn't dot an I, even though it was obvious you wrote an I. To see an LNC member behaving this way is inappropriate. But to those of you who were curious, no, the JC has not combined 2 appeals into one, because there isn't 2 appeals. Now, the JC is aware that another appeal would likely be coming if they overturn the sustainment of the ruling of the chair. Actually, let me put it this way. If they overturn the sustainment of the ruling of the chair, there almost certainly will be another appeal. It just depends upon which side it will come from, depending upon on how the LNC votes on the motion. If the LNC votes against the expelled members, then the appeal will come from that side. If they vote, which is in favor of the purgers, if they vote against the purgers, they will most certainly get an appeal from that side. So there almost certainly is a second appeal if this one wins, but there isn't one at this time. But knowing that, here's the interesting question. Let's pretend that the JC has decided to grant this appeal. I have no clue of that. None at all. Do I think we presented a good case? Yes, that's the best you can do. Let's pretend that the JC is going to grant this appeal. Can they, on their own, anticipate the second appeal and proactively make a decision? And I have to tell you, my answer to that question is, I don't know. But the fact remains is, even if they can't, if they do, what are you going to do about it, kind of thing? The convention's coming up, and the convention is the ultimate arbiter of everything that has happened the past 2 years. So I don't know, quite frankly, if the JC can, meaning do they have the authority to do that? I don't know. But the convention is in 3 weeks, and the convention will be the ultimate arbiter of that. But I don't think that's what the JC is going to do. I mean, I do hope the JC overturns the ruling of the chair. But what I think the JC is going to do you want my prediction? If they overturn the ruling of the chair, I think at least one JC member, and we did ask for this in our second reply to the LNC, I think at least one JC member, if not the majority, will issue an advisory opinion that says if this should come before us again with all of the facts and evidence at this time and no new contrary facts, we would likely rule this way and state what their likely ruling would be. Kind of as a guys, this isn't looking good for you, whatever side it isn't looking good for. So maybe you want to take that into consideration as you choose your next steps. So I do think it's perfectly within their authority to issue an advisory opinion. Um, I would equate it to a point of parliamentary inquiry with a chair. So you could ask a chair, if at X point in the agenda I were to bring up Y motion, would it be in order? And the chair can't make a ruling at that time because you aren't actually making the motion. But the chair can say, at this time, it is the chair's opinion that if you made that motion at that time, it would not be in order. And that gives advice to that member to perhaps rethink whether they want to make that motion. But the member cannot appeal that statement by the chair because it's not a ruling. It's just advice. And the chair could change their mind between then and the time of the member making that motion. Maybe they'll consult with a parliamentarian. Maybe they'll just mull it over. I know when I've chaired committees, I've given plenty of answers to parliamentary inquiries that I've later reversed course on. And I've been asked about it. And I said, well, that was my opinion at the time. And given further thought and consultation, I don't think that was correct. So that's why you can't appeal a parliamentary inquiry, but it is guidance as to what the likely ruling will be, all things remaining the same. So I think that's very likely. I think it's very likely that at least one JC member, and if I had to guess, it would be Alicia Matson, but it might also be Mary Rohr, will, if, and this is very, minding the subjunctive, as I like to say, if this appeal is won, that in one of the opinions, there will be an advisory opinion. And they are allowed to do that as far as that's my opinion. But the LNC member who said that there's been 2 appeals combined into one has absolutely misrepresented the situation to the membership and should immediately retract that. Now, I'm not going to say whether that misrepresentation was intentional or not. I have no idea, and I don't care. All I know is that it's wrong, and it needs to be corrected. So hopefully I won't get any more phone calls or texts on this. I've given you what I think is going to happen, but you never know. You just never know. The JC's going to do what the JC's going to do, or JC's going to JC, right? All right, everyone.